speak your truth, and ignite your inner wisdom and purpose. She hopes to do so with a little humor and grace, and her own soul fire passion. Kate talks with amazing guests who have embraced the pursuit and are fanning the flames of their own passion, purpose, and soul fire wisdom. Now here's your host, Kate.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Soulfire Wisdom and Totally Awesome, Try Something New and Talk About It Tuesday. So if this is your first time listening, as well as being the host of Soulfire Wisdom, I'm a hypnotherapist, a life coach, a Reiki master, and an NLP practitioner. But I like to call myself a change adventure navigator because I love helping to guide people through obstacles and adversity to find their path, purpose, and peace, and along the way, maybe a little soulfire wisdom. So what I tried this week is I tried a sleep tracker. So if anyone has listened to the podcast for a while, you probably heard me mention that I sometimes have trouble sleeping. So I wanted to just kind of check and see what's going on. And they say that these sleep trackers can do that. So I tried it. It was a little tricky to get it to work the way that it was supposed to, but I think I did. And I'm not sure that it told me anything that I didn't already know. It told me that I'm not sleeping deeply enough or long enough, which I guess is good information, but I kind of knew that already. The only thing that I would say about it, and I think it's probably valuable information to know, is that I wish that they had more information on maybe what to do about that. But anyway, once I got it to work, it did seem to work, and I'll probably, try it again and see if I'm improving on that. So we have a great show planned for today. My guest is Dari Arrington, and Dari is, he's the founder of Life in Basketball and Arrington Elites Basketball Academy, and he's a coach. And I actually don't know what else he might be doing right now, so we'll have to find that out. I've had Dari on the show a few times. The first time was on Embrace Change with Kate, and that was right after he got some publicity for what he was doing to try to achieve one of his main aspirations, which is becoming an NBA basketball player. So this dream started for Dari back when he was a child, and he needed some direction in his life and found it by following the Golden State Warriors. So the next time I had Dari on the show was my first pre-launch show for Soulfire Wisdom, when I was kind of finding out what he was doing for his kind of second big campaign for trying to achieve that same goal of, working with or for the Golden State Warriors. So now I'm wanting to catch up with Dari because that was in 2019 that I last talked to him. We also did a soul talk on race in America, which turned out to be kind of a, I don't know. If you listen to it now, it almost sounds like we were foretelling what happened with the whole George Floyd thing.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, with 2020, I wanted to catch up with Dari and find out not only what he's doing now to follow his dreams and achieve his goals, but how 2020 has affected all of that. So now, hi Dari, how are you?
Hi Kate, I'm well.
So just to follow up on what I said, can you give the listeners a little synopsis of kind of what has led you to your current path?
Yeah, just going back to what you were saying, I was always a child that just was super creative and driven, and had these huge goals and dreams. And I didn't know where to really start or go with that. And I ended up falling in love with basketball, and I was able to manifest a lot of great things just by playing that game. Well, really just starting to play that game, because I was playing football before, and that really wasn't going to be my route. And then I just kind of fell into basketball, and everything from there just took off. And it led me to be able to start my basketball academy, create my own brand. Now going into really taking off with my own podcast. So it just creates so many different avenues for me to really grow and stay true to what I love to do is basketball, along with helping others through that vision and that passion of mine. So that is basically everything in a nutshell. Who I am as a person.
So the first I guess big project that Dari did was for
the BY.
Yeah, that was, he went down and he spent some time actually campaigning outside of the Golden Wires facility, kind of like a little sit-in.
Yeah. Yeah, it was definitely you could say that. It was me wrapping up my final pursuit on trying to become an NBA player. I know I wanted to go out with a crazy bang. I didn't want to just say, I don't want to play anymore, I'll just stop. I'm just the type of person that if I'm going to walk away from something, I'm going to leave it all out there, and you just kind of go from there. But I need to feel complete with what I'm walking away from, because I don't like to quit things, and I never looked at that as a something that I quit. It was more just graduating, elevating, tapping into a new space with that same drive. But I needed to kind of get these years of need tunnel vision on this one aspect of that goal of mine, and then going from there. So it was a pretty great time, I'll tell you that.
Yes, and so then your second your campaign in 2019, that was more, you did social media, and you also made some connections down in the San Francisco area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so right after Be the Why, the first project, I was able to do some things that I never thought I was able to do just by creating it, bring some exposure to myself. And then I wanted to kind of keep that flame going, and I came up with Dream Different. So that was the next campaign. And I wanted to utilize what I learned from doing Be the Why to continue to inspire people, but make sure my goal is intact. So now no longer, I don't want to play in the NBA. but I do want to be a part of the NBA. So I wanted to come at the NBA from a different angle, using what I learned by being outside for 31 days and showing how what I'm doing is really, really inspiring all kinds of people. And so I wanted to use that Dream Different project to connect with nonprofit organizations to help me have a bigger voice in what it is that I was trying to accomplish.
Okay, now wait a minute here, Dari. You just said you no longer want to play in the NBA. Did you say that?
I did say that.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I said it.
Uh-oh. Are you sure? Are you sure you know?
Yeah, at this point of my life, I just turned 30. I'm still young, but playing that game is a young man's game. Although I know 150% that I still can go. I can go at that level, but my heart's not in it anymore on that aspect. And when I was able to finally walk away from that desire, I opened so many more doors and put myself in a position where I could just be so creative and still use basketball to be just as successful as an NBA player. It's just all about creating and finding the right timing, connecting with the right people. And, you know, I can still live out that dream. So, yes, I no longer want to play in the NBA, but I do want to be a part of it. And, you know, my biggest goal is to be an NBA head coach one day.
Okay. So the other thing that you do, as well as your brand, Life in Basketball, is you work with kids.
Absolutely. Yes. So Life in Basketball brand is more focused on telling the stories of underrated underdog athletes, along with showing some of my training with professional athletes, all of my creative works from every single campaign that I've ever created. So it's more of a brand that just kind of delivers and showcases those visuals on everything that I do with basketball in a creative sense. Now, Team Arrington Elite is my basketball academy that I work with the youth, mentorship. I just put together my first scholarship fund and really just locking in on the youth and also WNBA and NBA players to really just kind of show them a whole different aspect of the game of basketball and how it's built me to be the way I am today just by dribbling that orange ball. So, yes, I work with kids a lot and really just pushing them forward to continue to be innovative, forward thinking, and just kind of just being, you know, really just a big brother at the end of it.
So, yeah, what do you hope to achieve with working with kids?
I really hope to achieve just kind of leaving a mark with the things that I say to them and the perspectives that I deliver when it comes to coaching and just really just hearing them out as people. I hope to encourage and inspire them to want to not only play basketball, but just lead this world in such a nurturing but very firm, you know, outlook, or wherever you want to call it. Just put them in a position where they just feel invincible, where they can accomplish whatever they put their minds to, but understanding that everything they put their mind to has to do with hard work. You have to have work ethic, and just understanding that, and, you know, just letting everything else blossom.
Okay, so 2020 has been, you know, like just this bizarre year.
Yes.
And everything that's happened. I mean, I remember talking to you at the beginning of 2020 before everything happened. And
yeah.
I guess tell us a little. Well, I actually talked to you later in 2022 when all of the Black Lives Matter stuff was coming up, but that was after after the first shocks of the COVID.
Yeah.
So I guess just tell us a little bit about how all of this that has been happening, the COVID, the civil unrest, the election.
We start with the nasty disease that it is, COVID. Excuse me. Yeah, I once that hit, it was really bad for me. Business completely was flushed out within 17-hour difference. Like I lost everything, and then I had to quarantine, and I went away with my girlfriend, and we went to San Francisco to be with her family, and we didn't come back here until 2.5 months later. So we were stuck, and it just wasn't a really happy time. Wasn't a good time. I didn't know how to readjust, so I lost my work, and just trying to figure out ways to do things online. It just I wasn't set up that way. I wasn't set up to do that. Basketball training and coaching wasn't set up to do that. So really just trying to figure that out while playing catch up at the same time. And then we fast forward, George Floyd loses his life, and then all of this chaos begins after that. And I was just really lost. I mean, I didn't know how to communicate the way.
I know it was just horrific. And
It was
I can
terrible.
imagine, I know how I felt. And thinking back on our conversation that we had on our Soul Talk, my thought was, this must really be hitting Dari hard.
Oh my God. Yeah, it was absolutely terrible. We lost Aubrey. And
Yes.
it was just like back to back. It's just unbelievable. So I was just so livid. I just, I was afraid to be outside. I mean, still to this day, I'm still afraid to be outside in my car. But I mean, at that time, it was just even more highlighted. And so
Well,
it just put me in a.
I had no idea, of the frequency with which this kind of stuff was happening.
Yeah, well,
even when we had our talk, I didn't realize that it was happening, as often as it seems to be.
Yeah, the only difference between now and the reason why we get to see all of the things that are happening now versus years ago is just a simple cell phone and how technology just keeps advancing with social media. So things are just kind of broadcasted more. But so I always knew that this was always happening. Me being who I am and coming from where I come from, it's something that is just always talked about within my communities. But yeah, it's just to the world.
Well, even after it was brought to the light of everyone, it seems like, how can this be happening again when the spotlight is right on it?
Evil, just pure evil, pure evil. Just like anything that's just freaks out when the light is on you and you got the attention on you, so you're just gonna just make things worse. And so it's tragedy. It's horrific. It's sickening. That's what it really is. But once I was able to kind of gather some consciousness and pull myself in a space that was going to continue to fight, I was able to do something really wonderful in the month of June. And the Seattle Times picked up an article on a project that I put together. It was called Shoot for Change. And it was just really big. It was just really big. And so it was a way for me to articulate how I was feeling, along with bringing together people. And me, I'm all about unity. That's probably my favorite word next to determination. And so it's all about unity. And I wanted to create a project that was going to speak to the masses. And I was able to use my platform and my my go-to as a way to bring people together, talk about real conversations, and just be super creative with it. And so it was able to steer me in that direction where I was able to birth such a great project like that.
So I know that you were always a fan of Kamala Harris, and not so much Joe Biden.
Yeah.
So do you think that the ticket with Joe Biden and Kamala Harris is going to be able to, well, I'm being optimistic here. I'm going to just see them as elected. Do you think that they would be able to, bring about more change and positivity?
When it comes down to it, Kate, I think us as just humans, we all want to feel a sense of belonging, and we can totally get to a place where change can happen. Now, I understand as a 30-year-old man that change does not happen overnight, and the type of change that we all want, it comes at different variations. It comes at different frequencies, and so it's them. They are the ones that are in office. It's just bigger power than those two, and I do believe that they will bring some great change through their tenure. If they're elected, I have no major expectations. I absolutely have no expectations. I just hope for the best. The only thing that I can do is really be concerned with what I'm doing and what I would do to continue to bring light to people and change and inspire individuals to continue to want to keep fighting for change and just a different world, a different nation, I should say. But I do think that Kamala Harris and Biden, they're two different people to me, and I just see two different people, which is great. And it goes back to unity. I feel like when you got two different people, some great leadership can happen because you got two brains. But if you just got people that are just thinking one way and everybody's on the same page, I don't know if you really get true growth. I know you get some positive results, but I don't know if you get true growth, because if no one's challenging the other person or making them think in a different perspective, how can you really grow? And so I think with those two that we will see some changes, and I don't think anything will be, intentionally to mess people over or, just so that we can get Trump out of office. I do think that they're going to come with, some great things for the world, but it's not going to be easy. I don't know a president that had an easy just 4 years.
No, I don't envy them at all for what they're inheriting and what they have to work with.
And so
but I think you're right. I think it has to come from the grassroots level, that each person doing what they can to, bring about the change.
What I've seen with them so far, I think the most significant thing that stood out to me is their team.
Yes.
They are a team. And you can clearly see this with the conviction that Kamala speaks on Biden's behalf and vice versa. Biden to me is really funny, just how he articulates things. But he, to me, just seems like a guy that's just trying to tell it like it is. It doesn't have to
Yeah,
be
I
super.
think he's a genuine person. There's two things
Yeah,
about him that I think are very, very good for our country. One thing is he can say the words, "I made a mistake,"
yeah,
and "I'm sorry."
yep. He has no
And
problem with that.
our current leadership doesn't seem to be able to articulate that
No,
in any way.
it's an ongoing show with our current leader. It's a show. Everything's a show. It's for. I mean, he's only competing with himself. I mean, I can go on and on about this guy.
Yeah,
But
it's a waste of
yeah, it's a waste
energy
of
when
time,
we
waste
could
of
be talking
energy.
about something important.
Yeah, but just to touch back on Camilla and Biden, I do think that we're going to see some greatness because one, we have a very powerful woman and just energy just within Camilla. Like we have not seen anything like that in the office. She's a black woman, and so this is really a really profound, really big pivotal moment
I think
for
she
young
represents
girls.
Black women, but I also think she just represents women. So
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a really big pivotal moment for women as a whole because she gets elected. She's a vice president. That's a really big accomplishment. And not only is she just getting elected because of people feeling sorry or whatever that may look like, but it's just more because she willed her way. She found a way. I mean, early on she dropped out of the race. She dropped
yeah,
out
the whole
and
money thing. Yeah.
and then she bounced back. There was an opportunity because it's meant to be. It's meant to be. I feel like Biden could have went with any person.
Oh yeah, he had a
Like
lot of great choices. So
and so it just speaks on his character. Nobody's perfect, so I have no expectations. I expect some really I'll take it back. I have expectations, but I don't have any expectations where it's just outrageous. I just expect people to
well,
just be respectful and handle things
I have a lot
with
of
care.
hopes, but my biggest hope is that we can just get back to being, like honest, decent people
Yeah,
instead of, yeah, that,
I mean it definitely be nice. I do feel a way about that too, Kate. I honestly I don't remember, as long as I paid attention, that we were ever really honest people as a whole. I think that's a space that we actually should touch. I do think with this new generation, they're really pushing the generation right
well,
after me.
yes,
It's
I see a lot of hope in the new generation like you, but because I am, a little older than you,
mhm.
I remember back to a time when, like we could believe pretty much what our leader, our president, not that there wasn't always some corruption in politics, but
Mhm.
when at least the office of the presidency kind of rose above it and worked for the people as a whole,
Yeah.
and like lying was not an acceptable thing, and uh, calling people names was something you would never hear
Yeah, I
from our,
know. We've definitely seen a lot of that.
and that there was just more integrity, and that was
I think that's what it is.
generally respected by people from all, that was something that was respected by the citizens of the United States as a whole. It wasn't a partisan thing.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. No, I totally understand. I get you too. I just think that wherever we're going to go next, I don't think any of us should walk without a sense of hope. And I think we should eliminate any unrealistic expectations, even though with all of everything that's going on. And I think we should really focus on really loving one another each and every day. However, through media, whatever that may look like, I think we need to focus, because I don't think anything can outdo love.
I've been encouraged by the participation because, I think maybe the fact that everything that's gone on has brought about the realization in people that, you need to participate and speak up and make your voice heard, and that what you do does matter.
Yeah.
So I've been encouraged by that. I mean, the rate of participation in voting and our government, for good reasons, had fallen to such a low level in this country. And like we started out as kind of being an example of a democracy, and then we declined to being one of the least representative democracies in the world.
Yep. Yeah, no, spot on. I agree. I think where we will really begin to see an effective solution is when we actually embrace everyone, when we embrace it, accepting of all. It doesn't matter how you are, what you look like, accepting and wanting to continue to educate ourselves. My biggest thing is education reform. So I really, really want to focus on educating. Like, there's so much that I've learned within this short amount of time with this year that I don't know why I feel like, well, I do know why I feel like, because it wasn't a reality. When I was in school, a lot of the stuff was just hidden. I'm learning about lies about this country in school, by the way, like complete lies, lies.
Well, lies or misrepresentations or things that just were never said. I was like you, surprised at some of the history that I knew nothing about.
And so that really sickens me. And I just really refuse to have the youth even have to really deal with as much as I had to deal with that, because it's the truth is what's best all the time. The truth is what's best all the time, no matter how hard it is to hear it. It is the cure. It is what's best, and I think that needs to be our technique. And if we can get our leaders in the office doing more of that, then I think we will really, really see a significant change, along with loving and embracing unity to the core of what unity actually means, not just on a surface level. I mean, just deeper, because that is what's going to carry us over to having a better country and having a better world overall.
Very true. Not easy, but true.
Not easy by a long shot.
There's a lot of work to be done.
Absolutely. And if we continue to just walk towards that little by little, each and every one of us, so many people in the world, but if we could just have people just continue to go towards it, it'll happen.
Yes, and I hope it happens, in a lot quicker than, history has been moving. I mean, we talked about that before. I was just so disappointed to see how little progress we had made between the 60s and 70s. And now it was like, boy, I thought we had come a lot further. But, apparently we're in a lot worse shape than I realized.
Well,
now, partially, I'm sitting here, I'm saying, I was obviously happily unaware, and that's not okay. And I think we all need to assess our assessment, our realization of reality, and
yeah,
correct.
our recent president, my president forever, Mr. Obama himself, he recognizes that there has been change, from the different generations. There has been change, significant change, questionable. It's situational, but there has, and there's never enough, and we need to continue as a collective to keep it coming. We can never be satisfied because evil will never stop, and that's the thing. So it doesn't. We can have in the next 5 years, the world, this nation can be like a complete 180, but evil does not stop, and we have to continue to push every single time.
Totally sure it's evil. I mean, it may be, but I see it more as ignorance at the base of it.
And that's one perspective that I'm open to. I've just from what I've experienced through my life.
Well, I know that ignorance can seem evil at times.
But then just the bottom line of ignorance too. Just someone just not knowing.
That's my hopefulness. I mean, I hope at the core of it isn't pure evil.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know what to do about pure evil. I know that ignorance can be changed.
Yeah. Well, hopefully. I mean, just kind of going off of through the history of this country. We even talk about the slavery. Is it evil? Is it ignorance? I have my perspectives on it. I don't know so much with
ignorance and some other greed, bigotry.
So for me, I associate greed and bigotry with evil. I think it's evil.
I think there's an aspect of evil, or that they lead to evil. But though at the core of that greed and bigotry, there is also that element of ignorance.
Yeah. So ignorance is always there. It's always there in every single situation. I'm just saying, if you break, these things down in smaller pieces, to me, what I see is the foundation of evil. And you can associate evil with it can be on a spectrum, for me,
yes.
it's just straight up evil, and sickening, and throwing ignorance, especially just after what's going on today. For me, it's almost like a bailout to just say it's ignorance, in a sense, and because I do think people know. I do think a lot of individuals know.
Like the people that want to keep the current system going because it benefits them in some way economically.
Mm-hmm.
You could call them just pure evil, or you could call them ignorant because they don't know that overall that is creating a lot of undesirable for the whole society side effects.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it may be benefiting them in that narrow aspect of economic well-being, but it's creating a lot of other very negative things in our society.
No, yeah, I agree 100% with what you're saying. I totally get that perspective, 100%. I just think that I never can rule out the individuals that that really live with that mindset of, oh, this system is fine. This is working because it's working for us. That there's people within that society that know deeper that, okay, we understand that it's going to screw these individuals over or this lifestyle over, and we don't really care because it's, as long as we're okay. And so then there's that evil. And so I totally understand what you're saying, and I back that 100%. But I just can't dismiss at all that those individuals or 1%ers or whatever don't recognize what truly is at hand.
Yeah, I will agree that, okay, there's a hatefulness
Mm-hmm.
that comes from some people, and that I can't call it anything but evil.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of it does spring from ignorance, like, okay, not knowing that maintaining the status quo isn't the only way that they can be economically successful.
Yeah. No, like I said before, ignorance never disappears in this conversation, or however you look at it, whoever's perspective, mine versus yours versus the next person. The ignorance is always there. It's just, where it falls on the spectrum often kind of separates different people's arguments on how they feel this is that or this is not. And so for me, I think you and I are in sync, and we're definitely on the same page. I think I'm just leaning a little bit more to the nitty gritty and not wanting to give anyone the benefit of the doubt.
Are there? I actually want to do a panel, a forum on actually bias to bigotry, and what are the solutions to that? Like stopping that. Because we all start out, we have biases. There's no way to get around that.
Absolutely. I'm glad you brought that up too.
When and how do they turn into bigotry and hatred? And how can we stop that?
Yeah, I agree. I just think that just like you and I, it just takes individuals that are open-minded to really have real conversations, despite of the color of our skins, to really just be able to touch on it. Because if you can be open to other perspectives, it doesn't necessarily you have to agree with them, or you have to adopt someone else's mindset. But you should be in a position where you are mature enough to say, hey, this is my thought. This is these other thoughts. How can these come together, or how can they bring upon, change, seeing it from those two different.
It does take the conversation, and there are, on both sides, there are always, valid thoughts, feelings, like racism, bigotry is never okay. But if you talk to someone who has those feelings, there is always something there that instigated them. And the only way you can get to that and break it down is to find out what it is.
I agree.
I was having a conversation with someone I know who they would not call themselves racist or even feel like they are, they have a lot of racial animosity. But when I brought up the feelings that a lot of Black people, a lot of different races have about racism, about white privilege, about fear, they said, do you know how many people are afraid of Black people? And I said, yes, I realize that there are people that are afraid of Black people. And they said, and it's justified. And I said, you know, how so? And they gave instances of different experiences that some people had had at different times in their lives, walking through Oakland, encountering hostile gangs, just a scenario of different things that had happened to them or people that they knew. And this had formed, because of those experiences, this had formed an attitude of fear that they had not gotten past, or they had not known, I guess, enough people who didn't fit that, you know, scenario of someone that's going to harm me. And I know you feel that. You feel that about, you know, police.
Yeah.
And this person was telling me that they felt that about Black people, especially Black men. So if you don't have that conversation and they don't get out of that stereotype mindset, I mean, there are certain white people, I mean, that I would be afraid of. There are, you know, there are Black people that I would be afraid of. There are,
I mean, it's a total
of every description, that there are some of them that I would be afraid of because they have bad intentions, but that does not characterize a whole group of people.
So I think you know what you're saying is 100% valid. I also think that whoever this individual was that you were speaking with, you know, it's valid to be afraid of anything, it's situational. You know, whether this is, you know, an angry looking Black man, you know, if it's 11 o'clock at night, I mean, and I'm walking around, I'm going to be kind of like worried too.
You might be afraid in certain neighborhoods.
Yeah. I mean, I'm Black myself, and you know, if I see this Black guy that's, you know, freaking out or whatever and just angry, I mean, I'm gonna be terrified too. So, but I'm not associating that with like this is Black people as a whole, you know. Or if I see a white man that's, you know, what it's a stereotype of, you know, rapist or whatever, you know, I'm not gonna just say, you know, this is white, this is what white men, this is all white men, or just associate that with race.
Okay, so if you see a guy with a pickup and a red Trump hat, you're not going to judge him that he's going to be Somebody
He's
that's
gonna
going
be.
to harm you in some way.
No, I'm gonna. That first thought, like, and then I want this to be honest, since we're live with this. The first thought that comes to my head is this person is also a clown, and I'm okay with saying that, but it's not that I'm fearing for my life because he's wearing a red Trump hat or anything like that. I just associate any living human that just agrees with whatever anything this man says. they're just all clowns. It could be black, white, Hispanic, because I've seen them all too. That's our Trump supporters, uh, and they're all just clowns to me. So that would be the first thought. Now, aggressive activity, aggressive nature. Yes, I probably be a little concerned, be a little worried there. And again, it wouldn't be, because he's a white guy, he's gonna do something to me or want to do something to me. It's just because of this type of individual that he's supporting that I would be more so concerned with, in that nature.
And I can see that. I am not against, people having guns. But
yeah, neither am I.
if I see someone, carrying a gun out in public, I feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, I mean, it's a natural feeling.
The reason being is because I don't trust people's judgment if they feel they need to, carry a gun.
Okay, I grew up in a city where I had to have them myself for protection. Now, unfortunately, I was living in a predominantly black neighborhood, but that doesn't go to say that this is just all blacks. This comes from so much just sickness and understanding why these individuals operate the way that they do. And me, I love guns. I love the fact that they're just the machinery behind it and how it fascinates me. But I too, I'm not comfortable if I just see someone walking down the street with a gun. I don't know what their intentions are.
I don't have a gun. I know that I'm not going to shoot anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So I question their judgment.
But I think it's fair to question anyone's judgment just out in open that just has a gun. I mean, even in the states that just allow you to, open carry and whatnot. And I've been in those states, and it still makes me feel jumpy. Because the fact of where we are as people and how quick short people fuses are. People.
I live in one now, so
yeah, you live you live in a place now.
Luckily, I haven't seen a lot of people in where I live that are doing that, but I've thought about it. I've thought about,
Yeah, but just to touch on the individual you were speaking with, I just think that individual hasn't really spent enough time to understand the sickness and the oppression from blacks and why they operate the way that they do. Certain classes and certain individuals that are African American, to really understand and to go out of your way to try to understand brings on a totally different feeling and perspective on why you fear the fears that you fear, and that goes for any individual, no matter what race they are, to take the time to really educate yourself on why a group of individuals operate in the manner that they do. I think that's not talked about enough and not done enough, period. to find out, because often we just see or we hear stories from others, we adopt other people's experiences, and that becomes our reality, and we've never actually experienced that.
Yeah. So we've kind of gotten off our main topic.
Yeah, no worries.
So, so we don't run out of time. What are you doing now as far as your goals and dreams?
I'm just wrapping up one of my newest projects. It's called A Golden Dream. I just turned 30, so last year was my golden year, and I wanted to put together a project titled A Golden Dream, and it's geared towards the Golden State Warriors. But this time I'm taking a different approach, while allowing my community to speak on my behalf, my character, and how I inspired them, and why they think that I would be a perfect fit for the Golden State Warriors. So I'm wrapping things up with that project, and they can be seen on my social accounts, LinkedIn, Instagram, and those spaces. And it's just really just to showcase those individuals, from kids to adults, teenagers, everyone that I've had in my circle, in my community, to speak on my behalf, because I think it's always about empowering others along with chasing my dream. And so that's what I've really just kind of dedicate every project moving forward is going to be about, how I've brought some value to someone else, and showcasing that for a goal that it is that I'm trying to accomplish. So I'm just finishing that, and then I'm trying to turn down the notches, because I, as you can see behind me, I got like 2 boards filled with just stuff. And so I'm just doing that. And then one other thing is I'm working on my first app to try to really bridge the gap with the basketball community and families, and finding like teams for their kids to play on. So I got this really cool concept, and I've been working on that. So that's going to be a project that's going to be a few years. So I'm going to put everything else kind of on pause and just focus on wrapping that up.
Okay, so what is the podcast that you want to do? What is that going to be about?
It is a sports-driven podcast, basketball to be exact, but it'll give me another voice. So with my academy, my voice is motivational and really empowering the youth and athletes. With my brand, it's empowering all kinds of people that don't necessarily have to be about basketball, but it just shows my creative works and motivational things. So it has it. But with my podcast, it gives me an opportunity to just be a little bit more raw, because I'm not just one-dimensional person. I know a lot of people, they kind of confine themselves or structure themselves to be this really well-represented person. And I do know that I'm just like everybody else. When I'm around my friends, I talk a different type of way than when I'm in an interview, and I want to be able to deliver all aspects of Dari Arrington. And so with my podcast, it kind of gives me a space to do that. I get to kind of talk a little bit more raw, straightforward, and be unbiased, and have my biased opinions, and just go back and forth with individuals that want to engage in basketball and what else is going on in the world.
Who will your podcast be aimed at?
Athletes, basketball players. Yeah, basketball players. Anyone that's in the sports world. I mean, you didn't even have to play, but just like analysts, anybody that cares about sports at all. That's
what
really
do you hope to convey through the podcast?
Just delivering raw material that excites people, that get to hear a different part of Dari Arrington that for many years that I've been a little bit afraid to kind of put out there. Just kind of watching my tongue and watching what I say.
So let me phrase that a different way. So if for your listener, when after somebody listens to one of your podcasts, what do you want them to walk away with?
I want them to walk away with really whatever they feel like walking. I don't have anything like a goal in mind that this is what I want to deliver every single time I put out a podcast. I want a person to feel like, wow, that was insightful, or that was an interesting perspective.
So will it be just you talking, or will you be talking to other people?
It'll just be me right now talking until I'm able to figure out how to get other guests to come on to the show. There's so many different ways that I have that I want to go with the direction of this. But I think as of now, it's just going to be just me kind of just giving my takes, my opinions on sports news and broadcasters and whatever was going on, trending, and different media that I come across, and just talk about that. So I don't really have any one direction. I feel like with the podcast, you can go as many directions as you want with it. Yeah.
There's all kinds of different podcasts. So I have a question you're probably not expecting. And
yeah, go ahead.
You'll actually be the youngest person that I've asked this to. So what has surprised you most so far about life?
About life?
Mm-hmm.
Very deep question, Kate.
I know.
I think the fact that I was able to live through some significant things, some really big situations and close calls. I think so far that would be the biggest thing that surprised me about life, because I still don't know why me. Why did I? I don't know if I ever will know, but I think every single year I get better at not finding out why me, but more so what I can do with the fact that I overcame or got through a situation. And so it becomes less about that and more about how can I use my experience to empower.
Okay, so one final question, and that's if you could leave the listeners with one thought from today's show, what would you want that to be?
From today's show, the one thought will be stay open and never be afraid to speak what's on your mind. Just talk. Just talk. And it's okay to be wrong. You won't know you're wrong until you speak it.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for coming on today and catching us up on what you're up to. I, wish you well with those projects.
Thank you.
And we have another great show planned for next week. Next week, my guest will be Mie Lippy. And Mie is, I don't know, I guess I would call her a Renaissance woman, because you name it and she does it.
Yeah, she's got it all.
Yeah, but what she's going to be talking about on the show next week is her real passion, which is about driving and driver safety. And I was actually kind of surprised with all the things that Mie does, that she is so passionate about this one thing. But we'll talk to her about it and find out why, why she's so passionate about driving. And that's next week, which will be November 10th at 3 p.m. Pacific time. And so thanks again, Dari. And
thank you, Kate.
To the audience for being here and listening. And I'll just say bye for now.
Bye for now.
Yes.
Thanks again, Kate.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Soul Fire Wisdom with Kate Olson. We hope you enjoyed the show. If we made you laugh, brightened your day, or sparked a new thought, we have succeeded in our mission. Join us next time when we'll share more secrets and truths and all the magic of transformation that is the journey to Soul Fire Wisdom. Always remember, be fierce in the pursuit of what sets your soul on fire.